Thanks again for joining me. So just to start, could you tell me a little bit about your journey and what led you to New College?
Um, I've told many reporters this story, and it sounds a little sort of romanticized, but it's actually quite true. When I was a graduate student, I lived in a co-op, and I had four roommates who were New College students. They had graduated in programs including chemistry and anthropology, and they were just amazing. So when a job opportunity opened up to teach French at New College, I jumped on it. That was 29 years ago.
So obviously there's been a lot of changes at New College. Some may say it's been the target of DeSantis's political takeover. So why do you believe this is happening at New College and why now?
Okay. So first off, I have seen a lot of changes at New College over the years, and the vast majority of them have been really positive. The faculty has grown, our student body has grown. We have adapted our curricula to reflect new trends in American academia. We've attracted a lot of really impressive uh, faculty to the college. I'm really proud to have the colleagues I do. Why did New College attract the ire of um, members of Florida's political class? Part of it is that we're a small school, and so we seemed like a good target. A small school that struggled because we have not ever received the financial support we needed from the state. The dereliction of a number of our buildings on campus reflect that. Requests that we would put in regularly for funds to improve the physical plant were regularly denied since the university or since the state made us independent in 2001. I also think that it's just an opportunistic move. In this moment, when there's a lot of concern across the country about culture wars, they seem to think that this was going to be an easy victory, and so something that they could crow about. I'm quite proud of the way in which New College, our faculty, our students, the parents, and our many alums have stood up for not only what New College represents, but for the dream of the American liberal arts, for freedom of expression, for freedom of thought. I think we're making it harder for those who would have laid siege to us to carry out their projects. I'm still here.
And one of the things that the community in New College has done, one of the ways that they've been trying to fight back is a lawsuit that they filed against the Board of Trustees, the Board of Governors, the Education Commissioner, saying that the new Florida law restricts diversity and violates free speech. So as a member of the Board of Trustees, you're listed in this lawsuit, but it seems like
Yeah.
you're also fighting towards the same principles that they're fighting for. So what is the position this puts you in, and how's your response to that?
Well, it is seriously a very strange position. I am now a named party, a named defendant in two lawsuits because I sit on the Board of Trustees. Both of these lawsuits were filed by my community, my union, colleagues of mine, students of mine, alums of New College, and they each name the board and other state officials as defendants. Frankly, I am proud of my colleagues, and I say that in the broadest sense, students, alums, other faculty members, our union, who are standing up against the really pernicious aspects of Senate Bill 266. This recent bill limits faculty free, well, it limits freedom of expression and freedom of inquiry on campus. It places restrictions on what can be taught, what can count for general education, what resources can be used for, and frankly, it limits our rights as union members to ensure that we have fair and just working conditions. The two different lawsuits each address different components of Senate Bill 266. And despite the fact that I am a named defendant, I am hoping that my colleagues will prevail. I see many problems with Senate Bill 266. I do believe it abridges First Amendment rights for both students and faculty. And I also am very concerned about the way in which it abridges labor rights for faculty members. We're a public school. We're a public good, and the state should be supporting us and not putting gag orders on us.
All right. And mentioning support, last week there was a Board of Trustees meeting in which gender studies was moved to be abolished. And as a member of the Board of Trustees, in a Board of Trustees that is very against some of the principles that you hold yourself, how does it feel? Do you sometimes feel hopeless? Do you sometimes feel like nothing's going to get done?
Yes. It's since January 6th. And the date that our new members of the Board of Trustees, or the slate of board members, were announced in January, that's not an innocent date. They made that announcement on January 6th to signal both to those of us at New College and to the larger right-wing echo chamber that they intended to carry out an assault on the values of American democracy as enshrined in public education. So everything has felt upside down since then. It was frustrating to be at that Board of Trustees meeting last week when several members of the board moved to set in motion the process to abolish our gender studies program. And they did it based on a misunderstanding of what gender studies is, a misunderstanding of the centrality of gender studies to the American liberal arts. Gender studies has been a component of the American liberal arts for over 50 years. The Women's and Gender Studies program at the University of South Florida was founded over 50 years ago. And I took my first women's studies class in 1983 at Colgate University, which until shortly before that, had been an all-male institution. So I don't really think that anybody can argue that gender studies doesn't have its place in the American liberal arts. So there was a fair amount of bad faith in the comments made by individuals on our board. And frankly, I wish that the board as a whole had actually considered what was at stake in the motion that they approved without too much debate. They allowed me to read my statement in support of gender studies, but there really wasn't much that you could consider an actual debate of the merits of gender studies. There was no discussion about what our program has brought to the campus. There was a dismissal of the fact that gender studies is taught at all of the best colleges and universities, both public and private, across the country, and frankly, around the world. So this was a move back for New College. This is the first time that our Board of Trustees has actually taken a machete to a part of our academic program. They have fired our president. They fired our provost. They axed the department that headed up diversity initiatives on campus. They fired one of the LGBTQ librarians on campus. They've gotten rid of our Pride dorm on campus. They've removed the signs indicating where where trans people can find gender neutral bathrooms on campus. All of these things have been losses to New College, but last Thursday was the first day that they actually came for an academic program. I hope everybody understands what that means. Censorship on our campus, censorship creeping into public education here in Florida, or I should say censorship expanding its reach in public education here in Florida. Do I feel hopeless? Sometimes, yes. But I've also received a lot of support from my colleagues, from students, from people from across the continent, literally from Canada, from Oklahoma, just this morning. And I have learned to find value in just using my voice. I know that whether or not I can sway votes on the Board of Trustees, other people are hearing what I say. And if I can make any small difference, that matters. When I was an undergraduate, we had a required class in philosophy and religion that included work by Rosemary Radford Ruether, who is a Catholic theologian. And she taught me then that if you can smile, you can change the world. And I hold on to that truth in the face of what is a really scary attack on education and freedom of thought and speech in our country.
All right. All right. And you mentioned, no, that was,
Sorry.
no, you're
That's off
completely
the
fine.
top of my head.
You're completely fine. If it comes from the heart, I believe it. Okay. So you heard about the motion prior to the meeting to dismantle gender studies. Could you just tell me a little bit about how you heard about it and what happened after?
So, frankly, I received word late on a Saturday night, the week before the meeting, that this was in the works. That came to me through sort of a chain of connections. So it was very unofficial, and I couldn't be certain that this would actually happen. There was nothing on the agenda to indicate that they were going to move to abolish the gender studies program, but there was a space for new business. And so I realized that if it was going to happen, it would happen at the end of the meeting. And so I prepared. I did over the next few days hear from colleagues at other institutions and from a reporter who thought that this was going to happen. So again, I was prepared. I wrote a statement to speak in defense of gender studies, and I'm glad I was able to both read that and share that with the press and the community afterwards. Unfortunately, in Florida, state business is supposed to take place in the sunshine. And unfortunately, it seems that some decisions are made outside of the sunshine. And that concerns me on principle. Clearly, other people on the board had heard that this was in the works beforehand. That's unfortunate. And I guess it sort of makes it clear that the people who wanted to abolish the gender studies program needed to be working in the shadows. This isn't something that anybody should be proud of.
All right. Okay. And so the semester begins
I
in
probably said a little more there than I should, but what the
yeah,
if
it's
they're going to
important.
come for me, they're coming for me.
Exactly. Exactly. So the semester begins in 2 weeks. There's been issues with housing. Students have been considering changing schools. Faculty has been leaving. So what is your message to students who are worried about starting this new semester at New College?
I will say, as a longtime faculty member, I always have a certain amount of anxiety before the start of the semester. Even anxiety dreams that wake me up in the nights before the semester starts. You think of all the things that could go wrong. This year, in that sense, is no different, but I think the challenges that we're facing are greater. This week, we've been working to ensure that students who are on campus had access to food. There are a lot of problems with the dorms, ranging from dorms being shuttered due to mold and other problems, issues trying to find off-campus housing, costs, just the uncertainty that comes with people not knowing where they're going to live less than a week before they need to come back to campus. We've had over 40 faculty members resign, retire, go on leave of absence, or assigned research for the fall. That's a huge loss for a faculty that's just over 90, right? We have been able to hire some good new faculty, and I'm looking forward to meeting those colleagues. I know that we as a faculty will be working to support our students in every way we can. That means both our returning students who need to find out how they can deal with losses to faculty and courses and complete their areas of requirement, the courses that they need to complete their areas of concentration and graduate. We also need to be addressing the needs of all the incoming students, which includes there's 340 new students arriving on campus, some of whom, about half of whom were recruited to come to the old New College, and about half of whom have been recruited for the newly realigned direction of the campus, including over 120 athletes. Faculty are mindful that we have obligations to all of those students. They're our students, they're here to learn, and we need to support them. But I'm concerned that students are coming here, in some cases, with hopes to study programs that New College has never offered, with ideas that they can take online classes, which we do not offer, and with hopes to play on sports teams for which we do not have facilities. So as a faculty member, I'll be doing my best to support these students, to find out what makes them tick, and to find the courses that can spark their curiosity and their passion for learning. That's what I've done for 30 years, and it's what I'll continue to do this year, along with all of my colleagues.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me, Amy. This was really informative.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this chance to speak with you. I've been a longtime supporter of WMNF, and it's really important that MNF stays on the airways as a resource for our community. Thank you.